Call the meeting to order. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I invite you to join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Gehrig.
Here.
Grinberg.
Here.
Pepcorn.
Here.
Strand. Mahoney.
Here. John Strand's out of town tonight at a planning meeting or something in Baltimore, was it, Tony?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Well, a lot of different things. We have a little potpourri tonight because you were actually going to show a video tonight, and Chief Todd is going to try to lip sync it for us. Number one in health, Kim Lipinski of the Fargo Class Public Health Nutritionist received the Cass Clay Food Champion Award at a Future of Food event in November 20th in Moorhead. The award recognizes individuals who work on a mission to achieve the Cass Clay Food Partners, which is to increase the access to safe, nutritious, affordable, and culturally based food for all. Employee Health will host a canned food drive in the week of December 11th through 15th to benefit the emergency food pantry. Donations can be dropped off at the Fargo Cass Public Health Building on 25th Street. Again, the food pantry was low on food, so it'd be a great benefit if people would donate to them. The library is always doing stuff. Here we go again. There are several interesting and engaging programs for residents of all ages at the library during the next 2 weeks, including the annual Papercraft Holiday event, where participants learn to make a nifty paper bows, boxes, and seasonal decorations, a family holiday concert featuring the Fargo Moorhead choral artists, a tea time book club, Little Squirt Science for preschoolers, and Pause to Read event where emerging readers get to practice reading aloud to a therapy pet, and a day of code where kids use games and other activities to get a taste of how to create a code for computer programs and applications. A lot of different stuff. This is the exciting thing for the city. We always talk about how busy we are building, and we always like to see things go along. But the building permit activity during October and November included permitting construction worth $125 million. We used to run on an average of $250 million a year. So imagine in one quarter it's $125 million. The projects include 65 single-family homes, 94 row houses, 167 multifamily housing units, and 14 new commercial buildings. The total value of the 2017 building project is $428 million through the end of November. That's a really healthy growth for the city. We appreciate that. Now, the Community Trust and Cultural Liaison Officer programs premiered their Unity musical video on Friday at the Fargo Theater. The video features Fargo police officers Michael Bloom and Matthew Niemeyer and students from the Jefferson School and the South High School, and Atlantic rapper DPB. The idea was to show the community the human side of Fargo's men and women in blue and to connect the younger generation. Greg, can you run that video, please? And you can sing along if you want.
Yeah. It's time. We gonna make America great again by coming together in unity. DPP and Officer Bloom. So I got my boy.
Do it.
Let's do it. Yo, like this. Check it out. Come on, let's walk hand in hand. Unity should be our master plan. Come on. We need to unite to come together to see America great again. So I team up with my fellow man. With my brother right here, we take a stand. I know we can do it, oh yes we can. Kicking it like Jackie Chan. Home of the brave, land of the free. Gotta keep fighting for unity. Yes, you and me. So who will be the one who stop this foolery? Fighting each other, hating each other, killing each other, stealing from each other. Really doesn't matter what color. We still are our sister and brothers. Yo, y'all get it? Y'all get it? I got it. I hope you get it. I know you got it. Cause you know it. If you really got it. Unity, yo, we gotta stick with it. Let's work together for each other. Let's do it. Ayy. Let's stand together with each other. Let's do it. Ayy. Let's unite under one color. Do it. Ayy. For my sisters and also all my brothers. Ayy.
on the news, another cop got shot. 40 shootings in Chicago, man, guns stay hot. Don't matter your color if you're on the wrong block. Like McGregor in Vegas, you about to get popped. It's all hate, no love, and it never changes. Bleed the same color, but we live like strangers. Christian, Muslim, you must be dangerous, but where is love? Can love really change this life? Could it be dangerous to make this assumption? Could there be someone really up to something that we weren't called to judge by appearance? Only seen the album cover, never judging the lyrics. Like, he had a dream, why are we living it? Freedom is a gift, but ain't nobody giving it. Chains on your wrist, but you live like you in prison. In America, the great man, what will we forgive again?
Let's work together for each other. Let's do it, ayy. Let's stand together with each other. Let's do it, ayy. Let's unite under one color. Do it, ayy. For my sisters and also all my brothers, ayy. Yo,
Yeah,
I brought my boy with me.
it's your boy Officer Bloom,
He my partner.
straight out of Fargo, North Dakota.
That's right.
DPB,
I'm with you, bro.
Birmingham, Alabama.
You heard?
We stand united, not divided. Always remember that.
Yeah.
One city, one community, strong for life.
I like that.
We out here.
Unity. Unity, y'all. We gotta come together. It's time, America. We here. Y'all.
Peace.
Chief, you've had 200,000 views so far, and basically what the community officers are beginning to do is develop a program working in the community, raising some funds. And the exciting thing about the project is you have volunteers. You don't actually necessarily need money, but you need volunteers and help in some of the programs. So it was a real nice program, we think. But I didn't see you doing any flips or jumps or...
Well, I'm not gifted in that area.
Now, the other exciting thing about the police department, the furnishings are installed in the new police department building, and moving plans are in the works. After their move is complete, Chief Todd will be working to have Narcan placed in every squad car. All police officers have been trained on how to administer Narcan, and now that squad cars will be temperature-controlled facility, the chief wants Narcan in every car, so that could offer more immediate response to anybody who needs Narcan. Solid waste. With the introduction of all-in-one recycling earlier this year, the public education is now the main objective of the solid waste department. The department has developed a curriculum to share with elementary schools children about the new recycling program, as well as the importance of reduce, reuse, and recycle. The staff has been out to visit more than 650 third grade students in the Fargo public school system. The goal is for the department is to have those students become lifelong recyclers. Each student was given a recyclable cloth bag to promote the reduction of plastic bag use. So Commissioner Strand would be happy to hear that. Transit. Matt Bus had 3 buses wrapped in Holiday Lights Parade this year. Advertisers wrapped 2 buses, and the Link FM bus was wrapped and decorated by the Matt Bus, complete with an operational train looping the front bike rack, thousands of colorful lights, glowing fire, and elves giving out candy to parade observers. And the fleet and facilities manager driving the bus in his colorful holiday suit. Greg, we didn't have pictures of that, but maybe next year we'll have that for you. This is one of the good things about downtown Fargo, which we're excited about. Broadway in Fargo has been named one of this year's main streets across America. National Life Group celebrates streets in each of the 50 states and the District of Columbia that reflect strong Main Street values, play a central role in the communities in which they are located, and have great stories to tell. Broadway was chosen because it exemplifies a strong local business presence, local gathering spots, and community spaces, celebrations of history and traditions, and diverse social and cultural activities. So Broadway got that award as being the best main street in the state of North Dakota. The other thing, Wallet Hub has named Fargo the 6th safest city in America in 2017. 6th safest, which is great. Analysts compared the data for more than 180 cities, which include assaults per capita, unemployment, road quality, foreclosure rate, job security, fraud and other complaints, medium credit score, identity theft complaints, percent of households with emergency savings, and the percent of people who are uninsured, and Fargo's number 6. So we did really well. Not surprisingly, huh? Is there a motion to approve the order of agenda with item 33 in the consent agenda being withdrawn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the November 20th, 2017 regular meeting and the November 27th, 2017 special meeting?
I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Nay. Motion carried. Consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve consent agenda items 1 through 33, excluding item number 33, which has been withdrawn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Grinberg,
Aye.
Gehrig,
Yes.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. So we'll move on to regular agenda. Today we have the benefit of having the fourth grade students from Washington Elementary will share their local service learning project centering around hunger solutions. Barb Winneman from Concordia College will give a brief overview, and we have some Concordia students as well that are going to help them out. Who wants to come forward? Do you want Commissioner Pepcorn to sing the Concordia fight song? He knows it, I think.
I won't, but I will say, if you're a mediocre student at Washington Elementary, someday you could grow up and be a city commissioner in the city of Fargo. Bet you didn't know that.
Just want to clarify, we're not clapping to mediocrity.
Phil,
Greg, can you get the mic?
can we ask you to use the microphone just so everyone can hear? And if you, is it okay if you use the podium, or do you want to be by the? But we want to be able to have people hear what you're saying.
Jeremy, do we have a microphone, please?
We're working on it.
Oh, here it comes.
Sorry about that.
No problem. She's a teacher. She probably thinks her voice projects.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Mahoney. I did tell my students that they have to have a video like that for Wednesday morning class. So those of you that are here will be really busy tonight. This isn't part of an integrative class at Concordia, so first semester students get to pick an integrative or an inquiry seminar, and mine focuses on the theme of hunger. And for the past 2 years, it's been my privilege to pair with Missy Kruger, who teaches fourth grade up at Washington. So my college students learn about hunger, then they come out and teach the fourth graders, and then the fourth graders go out and teach the public about hunger, specifically in the Fargo-Moorhead area. So the fourth graders have already done 2 public presentations, all of them, and they went to Family Fair on 25th Street, and then they do a hunger fair at the school too. And so tonight, some of the fourth graders and their college mentors are here to briefly share what they did and to also share their trifold. And Brody, you're up first.
Hello, my name is Brody and I worked with Corey. And then, oh yeah, the rest of it. Okay, hello, my name is Brody. I worked with Corey to study food waste. I know food waste because 21% of my class, 21% of my students in my class throw away milk every single day. Can you believe that 50% of our produce is thrown away? And that is the same as $180 billion a year. With this much food in our landfills, carbon dioxide is being produced and harming our earth. You can help stop food waste by storing your food properly, planning out your meals, and only taking what you can eat. Together, let's teach children young to value food so they can also be food stoppers. Every fruit and vegetable counts.
Hello, my name is Annika and my mentor is Maddie. Today I will be talking to you about the Free Reduced Lunch Program. The Free Reduced Lunch Program is an organization where people who cannot afford to buy a lunch can get a lunch that is partially or completely paid for by the government. 37,928 students participate in the program in North Dakota. 32.6% of students in North Dakota and 27.8% of students in Cass County participate in the program. To participate in the program, you have to be under a certain amount of pay. Application forms are sent out every fall. The Free Reduced Lunch Program is very important because it did not exist, the people who could not afford it would be very hungry in class and it might be hard to concentrate. Thanks for all your time.
Hello, my name is Jada and I worked with Taylor. I studied poverty. Poverty is the state of being extremely poor. There are many words that have to do with poverty. For example, there's food security, which means everyone has access to healthy food. In Fargo, about 14.9% of people live in poverty. There are people who live in poverty all around us and we might not even realize it. Not everyone lives in the same type of poverty. There are different levels. Poverty is not always consistent and changes all the time. I learned 30 new words and definitions that have to deal with poverty. One word that I learned that I thought was interesting was food justice. Food justice is the idea that food is a basic human right. No one deserves to be hungry or live in poverty. There are many ways we can help combat poverty. We can do things like food drives to help food shelters get food items they need. If everyone did a little bit to help, there would be positive effects and we could potentially help end it. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Aiden and I worked with Garrett. We talked about food insecurity, child hunger, food deserts, and nutritional brain health development. Food insecurity. Did you know that 48.8 million Americans, including 13 million children, live in households lacking healthy food? And children hunger. Some households lack enough money to get healthy food. In 2010, more than 31.7 million children got their food through the National School Lunch Program. Food deserts. This is when the population grows and there's a lot less room for healthy food and the space for farms gets less. Nutritional brain health development. Healthy food is key for the right brain development during growth. Thank you for my time and you can look at my trifold later.
Hi, my name is Regan. With my mentor Jenna, we learned about senior hunger in the Fargo-Moorhead area. In 2006, there were 6.5 million seniors nationwide that were hungry. In 2014, it increased to 9.5 million. Now there is 7 million seniors. There are more ways of facing hunger than just having low income. 1. Unexpected medical bills. 2. Individuals on disabilities. 3. Loss of a job. And 4. Living far away from a grocery store. Some food programs that could help seniors with hunger are the Emergency Food Pantry, the Senior Food Pack Program, the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program, and the Great Plains Food Bank. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Barb. That was very good. And someday they could grow up and be commissioners. Be careful. Any comments from the commissioners? Kids are quiet today. I think we're going to move to public hearings since it's past 5:15. Continue from 12-18-17. Continue to 12-18-17. Vacation of a portion of 2nd Street North between First Avenue North and 5th Avenue North of the North Dakota R1 Urban Renewal Edition from 1st Avenue North to 5th Avenue North. Approval recommended by the Planning Commission on 6/6/17. The Planning Department has requested this item be continued to December 18, 2017. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Grinberg.
Aye.
Gehrig.
Yes.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Item B, continue to 12-18-17. Dedication plat of 2nd Avenue North and portions of North Dakota Urban Renewal Edition, Kenny and DeVette's second edition, and portions of the vacated 2nd Street North, 4th Avenue North, and 5th Avenue North. Approval recommended by the Planning Commission. Also, they would like us to continue this December 18th. Can I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Grinberg.
Aye.
Gehrig.
Yes.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mahoney.
Aye. Street vacation plot of 22nd Street North between Block 11 and Block 12, Tyler's Edition, 300 to 400 blocks, 22nd Avenue North, Approval recommended by Planning Commission on 9/5/17. Explanation by Aaron.
Thank you. Good afternoon. So yes, this is a street vacation application, and before I get started here, I just want to point out that this is a little bit of a unique application. You don't see these a whole lot. The municipal code is largely silent to this type of application, and so in lieu of anything in the municipal code, our policy has always been to follow the North Dakota Century Code, specifically Chapter 40-39. And one thing to point out within the Century Code is that this type of vacation request does require a 2/3 majority vote by the City Commission in order to pass or to be approved. So with that, as you mentioned, this is a street vacation request for 22nd Street North, specifically the section of right-of-way located between 3rd Avenue North and 5th Avenue North. This section of right-of-way contains an abandoned section of railroad track that is currently being used by the adjacent properties. The petition for vacation was brought to the city by the adjacent property owners who would like to take formal ownership of the property in order to clean it up, fence it in, and what have you. This section of right-of-way has no street improvements and contains no public infrastructure other than an existing sanitary sewer main and an abandoned water main. As you can see on the street vacation plat, there is an easement that would be retained by the City of Fargo in order to continue to maintain those underground utilities. This vacation plat was unanimously recommended for approval by the Fargo Planning Commission in September, and was also recommended for approval by the Public Works Project Evaluation Committee. With that, staff is recommending approval of the requested street vacation plat. And I do want to note one thing in the suggested motion. I do have a revised motion on the screen that's different than the one in your packet. Staff would like to further detail the specifics of that retained easement, the rights and restrictions associated with that easement. And so we would just amend this motion to make it contingent upon the execution of a separate easement document in order to include those details.
Is there anyone present who wishes to speak to this vacation? Is there anyone present who wishes to speak? If not, we'll close public hearing. Do I have a motion?
Move for approval based on Mr. Nelson's recommendation with the revised language.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Just one question. Does it cost anything for us to do this? Do we have to remove the tracks or anything like that, or is there any cost associated with the city?
I don't believe so. I think as far as the tracks go, I think, looking at Ben Dow, there was an option for the city to utilize and maybe sell the tracks.
Majority of them had already been removed sometime or another.
Okay. Any other discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Grinberg.
Aye.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Gary.
Yes.
Mahoney.
Aye. You got your proper number now? 40?
Yep.
Okay. Quarterly update by the Greater Fargo-Moorhead Economic Development Corporation. We have the honor of having Jim Garton here and Executive President Mark Vox to explain this, or both of you going to explain? Well, you can't be quiet.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the Commission, Mark Fox, Greater Fargo-Moorhead, ADC. What a tough act to follow between the video and the fourth graders. We'll, for our next report, we'll see what we can do about a video, but thank you for the opportunity to present with you and spend some time with you tonight. Want to highlight a couple of things in the written report that was provided to you and touch on a few other things that we've been working on that I think you'll find very interesting. The strategic planning position that Jim Gilmore is leading on behalf of the city is working out very well. Jim and I are in constant communications at least once a week, if not multiple times a week, and been working on some nice expansion projects and a really good attraction project that we're excited, hopefully, to be able to talk about in the first quarter, if not the first 6 months of 2018. Also, a couple of good expansion projects to highlight with B&G Technology and Discovery Benefits and the recent growth they've had. In marketing, we've put a lot of time and effort into a new website, and we're excited to announce that that new website will launch sometime this week, so encourage you to go out and take a look at that when it's up and active. The activity in our Growth Initiative Fund program is amazing. We're going to have a record number of applications and funds allocated through that program this year. There's been a lot of really good applications and activity, and we like to continue to see that, that growth and utilizations of those funds continue. We continue to work on air service with efforts for direct daily flights to Phoenix, Seattle, and Atlanta. I know Jim has been actively engaged with the Airport Authority Group in moving that forward. The EDC has made investments of over $100,000 this year in the past 6 months in Fargo-based organizations that we're really proud of, and we continue to support their efforts on a community-wide basis. We recently announced at our investor breakfast within the last couple of weeks the creation of a Workforce Development Council. This is a major capital investment coming from our reserves in the amount of $400,000 in 2018 that will include one staff person, projects and initiatives to move workforce initiatives forward. Labor and workforce continue to be the biggest factors and challenges we face as a community, so we're putting our resources and the resources of our investors, such as the City of Fargo, to good use to continue moving that along. Finally, our specially focused workforce programs continue to show great success, such as our Math Mentor program, our Mentors in a Classroom, where we take engineering students from NDSU and put them in second grade at Ed Clapp to help advance and teach and get young people excited about math and the importance of that as they move forward in their education. Education That Works and Teachers in Industry are two other programs that have been highly successful that we continue to focus specifically on in the areas of workforce. So a lot of good information in our report that we gave to you in the 4 different core areas that we focus on. So be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Question. You had an event the other day about the incubator up at NDSU. What was the term of how many millions that has brought into the community? You recall? Maybe Tony recalls? 85 million?
Research Park's economic impact, yeah, it's primary and secondary is probably over 150 million.
And then the other question is frequently asked, Mark, is the areas that you're looking for growth and workforce, what's average salary per hour?
In those core areas of
need?
I would say 50,000 and above.
Yep, okay. Jim, you want to add in anything?
Yeah, just one thing about the Growth Initiative Fund. By the year end, we will have approved 19 deals. One of them, for the first time, was a joint venture that had just started with our partners at the Bank of North Dakota and the North Dakota Development Fund. And last Friday, we approved the largest investment that we've made in our community of $300,000, matching that from the Bank of North Dakota and $500,000 from the Bank of North Dakota and the Development Fund. So to support a local company's growth, so we're very excited about that. Totals for this year will
Myriad
probably...
Mobile?
Excuse me?
Myriad Mobile, is that who you're doing?
Yes.
Yeah.
So we will probably be in that $1.7 million, which is the largest year we've ever had. We want to get this money out into the community, and we feel very excited about that.
A question.
Commissioner Grinberg.
It's not a loaded question, but with recent passage of the tax bill on Friday, I know there were some meetings that took place with congressional leaders, with business and industry. Any sense from the clients you represent, you know, without getting into whether it's a good thing or bad thing, do they have perspectives that you're hearing from changing corporate taxes?
Well, from our perspective, you know, as Mark said in his thing, we make 150 plus calls a year. We're trying to find those key things, and we find those things that company after company is talking about, and of course one of them is workforce. I can tell you in the 150 calls this year, we've never had one company say, we want a tax reduction. Believe it or not. So it's really interesting for us, and they're excited about it. Everybody is like, okay, great. But nobody has said to us that right now this is a deal breaker or hurting them as relationship to what the tax base is. So we're just kind of amazed.
I just have a quick comment. I just want to thank you because I think our return on investment, the amount of money that we give the Cass County Economic Development, you guys do a great job. I think we benefit greatly from what you guys do. I wish we could do a little bit more, and I'm hoping in the future that we will. But I do think that you're a great asset to our city and to the region, and so thank you very much for all the work that you do.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for the report. Maybe by the time you do an annual, you can do a video for us, Jim. I know that. We've seen them. Item 37, State Water Commission request for cost reimbursement FM diversion project, cost totaling $897,057. Ken Costa to explain.
Yeah, good evening, Commissioners. The first request, number 37A, is for $897,057. That's for city projects for this past month. That'd be paid to us from the State Water Commission. And item 37B is for the Oxbow cost incurred, $488,613, and we're seeking reimbursement. So we would request your approval.
Can I have a motion?
Move for approval 37A.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Grinberg.
Aye.
Pepcorn.
Aye.
Gehrig.
Yes.
Mahoney.
Aye. Item 37B, do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Roll call vote.
Grinberg.
Aye.
Gehrig.
Yes.
Pepcorn.
Nope.
Mahoney.
Aye. Item 38, consider request for approval downtown in focus, a blueprint for Fargo's core. All the commissioners have received a booklet that's about this thick on the downtown focus, and it has a variety of things that's written into it. And Nicole Crutchfield's going to explain a little bit of it tonight, but it's a blueprint, and then what we do with it is important for the city of Fargo. But this has been a lot of work, and a lot of people have been involved throughout the city on this, Nicole, and we got great input on what to do. And now that we're one of the top main streets of the United States, it appears that it's very much apropos that we talk about this tonight. So you're going to explain it, then you have our consultant here.
Yeah.
Yep.
So good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. We are coming to a good milestone moment with the Downtown in Focus plan. This is not to say our work is done. It's just really beginning. As we work towards a vision, common vision for the community as a whole. We had many hundreds of people participate in the outreach events. Many of you participated in those. And really the whole purpose is to understand what the public wants in the community for that common vision and to help inform that common vision for the department staff and our partners and stakeholders as a group as we continue to work down through the layers of implementation. So I'm standing in for Scott Page, who made it as far as Chicago and then is now on his way back home. But we do have Kevin Hively with Integrant Partners, who you've all had a chance to meet to help answer some of the questions you might have. I have about a 10-minute presentation that I'll just kind of carry through the high level. And then I know you've all seen presentations throughout the year and updates, so be glad to dive into any questions or details. So first of all, why are we doing the plan? Back when this was literally an inception with Joe Nigg, one of our senior planners at the time a few years ago, was really talking about the layers of coordination and efforts that we had in planning corridors like NP Avenue, Main Street, things like that. And so really, why are we having a plan and how do we use that? And the whole purpose of the plan is if we have that shared vision that we can then work towards working with our downtown advocates, taking action, streamlining spending, creating our partnerships, increasing our partnership engagement, and most importantly, prioritizing our investments. And so really just to highlight where we're coming from, obviously we understand the history of Fargo, and the consultants really dove in deep. It was a pretty impressive small and powerful group of consultants that spent hundreds of hours through stakeholders, small town meetings, group meetings, topic areas, and really understanding what makes downtown tick today. And so downtown today, we know we have about 17,000 jobs downtown, and we have housing scattered throughout downtown. We know that housing needs to be more fluid or more forthcoming and concentrated to help kind of some of that power of the retail and business. And then we understand through the work of Kevin and his group that the downtown itself is fluctuating with retail. And so how do we work to make that a little bit more consistent throughout the years? And so through those public engagements, I think the most important thing, again, is that common vision. And so working with a lot of input throughout the year and a half, Frostival partnering with our stakeholders like the CVB as part of the Frostival event itself, and many ideas coming in as sharing that vision. And so what does that vision entail? It entails, kind of family-friendly investment, gathering, performing spaces. How do we program our public areas so that we're investing? And so the structure of our downtown plan, you've gotten a big chapter in our big book in your packet. It's available online. And really it comes down to these 7 goals and strategy. How to grow as a neighborhood, prosper as a business center, thrive as a destination. We heard over and over again the importance of the experience downtown and get people coming back. How does it become inclusive for all in a varying wide variety of needs? How do we complete our streets so it's more of a network system as opposed to corridor by corridor? How do we talk about parking? Many of our steering committee members, we had probably 4 out of the 5 parking commissioners sit on the steering committee itself. And then how do we play with purpose? And again, that family center. And so just kind of running through it real quick, how do we work with people in need? And so again, some of that investigation and working with actually a roundtable with homeless people and people that work with homelessness, and what are some of those needs in our downtown that helps those services? How does it become inclusive? How do we work in our surrounding neighborhoods? We know the housing in our surrounding neighborhoods is vitally important for the success of downtown. How do we work with our land development code and tweaking the DMU zoning ordinance? And then probably, kind of what could be the crown jewel of our downtown, even more so than what it is today, is the future of the Mid-America site, steel site, and how does that work in Main Avenue and connecting both cities? So we've had some discussions with Moorhead. How do we also become a place for experimenting, so the bump outs and the spaces in our public streets as retail spaces, working with the DCP and the bid and activating those corners for more variety. You've heard us talk a little bit about that, and so I'll just kind of fast forward hit. And then this is the part that I don't believe you have seen before that I wanted to highlight is the appendix, which is called the Downtown Fargo Streets Playbook. And that really is a guideline to help us understand what our streets could look like. And so each of our corridors, this is just one example, 6th Avenue North, really starts to look at that right-of-way width, what uses, how does that work with our network of bicycle, pedestrian, transit, parking, and how does that work together so that the engineering department or other agencies can pull this plan and help guide future directions. And so really that becomes, starts to become a visioning guide for things like Main Avenue, which shows how development those future land uses can work with a corridor. And then also talking about parking is just an example of that, where we talk about parking as an experience. So the short-term goals as we get access for those retailers so they can maybe park once, and then the business district, and then as how does that program work with a shuttle and sort of bike share? So it's a comprehensive program. So it's not saying that we don't need more parking, it's that we know there's a need and how do we program in multiple ways that parking access. So if Scott was here, he'd be making a joke about Carson Wentz. I'm not going to be able to make that joke, but since he's from Philadelphia, that was the #1 question he got in all his focus group sessions. And I understand he didn't do so well last night. So we'll just move along to talk about our open space network, and that's kind of a critical point of this. How do we connect our green spaces so they are more enjoyable and connect to our big areas like Island Park and the future Civic Plaza, et cetera, and along the rail corridors and open spaces. So there's a lot of opportunity, and some of that opportunity includes with programming, working with the library, the park district, school district, and how these areas can be family destinations. And then lastly, how can we make those corridors more enjoyable to walk along and especially in the warmer months, maybe not today, and how can those infrastructure be multi-purpose? So we talk about implementation and recognizing that this plan serves as a mold and a guide for all the different people we work in implementing downtown. And it's also about how does that work together. So meaning there's many different overlapping groups that are helping to implement this. And so as part of that, we want to, I think this is the most critical aspect of the downtown master plan and why we're asking for your adoption tonight, is really providing a guidance for that public-private partnership. It serves as a role coming from the city as a guide to unifying the governance on the experience, clarifying the roles of all the different people working and living and playing in downtown and helping shape that infrastructure, and then how do we diversify and expand our financial resources. Speaking of which, I'm not going to talk a whole lot about implementation. I think that's in your, through the adoption tonight will help provide the work plan and guidance for our different agencies and departments and set the tone for discussion in the future. And so the main thing to consider as part of that is realizing that there's gaps in funding that we'll need to find as part of our 2018 work plan. And then wanted to highlight that there is an implementation chapter. This is just a highlight of that, but it talks about quick hitting goals, for instance, low-hanging fruit, say amendments to the downtown mixed use zoning district or amendments to our right-of-way ordinance to allow for food trucks, for instance. Right now, those are prohibited, but if that's something we want, that's a pretty low-hanging fruit versus long range on how to finance a performing arts center. And so all of those 7 goals have highlights, and a work plan is part of that, and talks about partnerships with the DCP, city organizations, nonprofit groups, et cetera. And so this is just one sample of that. And with that, that concludes my presentation, but I'd be glad to answer any questions. Or Kevin will be glad to answer any questions as well.
Very good. How long has this study been going?
I'd say about a year, from the RFP status to the, from the scoping to the RFP status, that took about 6 months. And then from the RFP status when we hired Interface Studio, it's been a little over a year.
Yeah, very good. Questions?
Well, I just want to compliment Kevin and Nicole and the entire city staff and those that have participated in this. You know, I was a little dubious when I was first elected and we started talking about a budget and you know, the rationale for such a study, and part of my logic was, or at least the point was, we passed the Renaissance Zone legislation and look what it did to downtown. So what's an additional study going to provide us? So in some ways I've been proven wrong, because this has been a very comprehensive effort that has really brought a lot of engagement from the community. And so I compliment, you know, Nicole and her steadfast leadership to move us forward with various aspects of this as we roll out plans for future development and amenities for our citizens. And so nice job.
Any other comments? Commissioner Peppercorn?
I'm very excited. First of all, thank you, Nicole, and I think it's a great, it's great groundwork, and we've already started some of the projects. We can talk about the bump outs. Derek is already, we're already working on that, because it's a great concept, and so that's a good one. The other one, this ties in a little bit with arts. The thing that I think was worth paying for this study, just on the one thing that we learned alone, is for each of the new blocks that we have as a city, because of the flood control, if we develop those by putting out RFPs, we can include art or we can include whatever in those RFPs, and it won't cost us anything. And so it's a great way to have a vision for what we want the downtown to look like. And to me, this is the most fun that we are going to have. I mean, this will set the course for 50, 100 years of what our downtown will look like. And so it's a very exciting time, and that's why this is perfect timing, and it's great to have an outside group, and they had lots of good ideas. I will say, I don't love all the ideas, but just they have a ton of excellent ideas that we can use, and it's very exciting. So Thank you, and thank all the staff for all their hard work, because lots of different departments participated, and I think it was money well spent and time well spent, and it will pay off in the future. Thank you.
Mr. Gregg.
So the agenda item says, consider request to approve downtown in focus. Is that a receive and file type deal, or is there something binding in here that I'm not aware of? Because I see this, like it says, as a blueprint, as a suggestion, but if we're approving it, that seems more like to me as a mandate to do something than anything else. So I'm more curious about that. Like Dave said, I like the majority of this, but I have expressed concerns
I had the same question.
on things like, adding a permanent TIF to downtown, like Bismarck does. I do not like that idea, obviously, and Bismarck is actually getting away from that. And the governor even said that he doesn't like that idea. So that was a proposal in here at some point. And so if that's a mandate, I'm going to vote no against it. If this is all a suggestion, then there's really no reason to vote against it.
Nicole, you want to answer that question, or do you want Kevin to?
First, there's no, there is no permanent TIF in the plan. It's a district-based model. The idea would be to do it through a general obligation bond because it's just simply the cheapest, most effective way to do it, and set up a special account that would allocate money that gets generated by revenue from the downtown to go into it. But it's not a TIF structure in the way that Bismarck has it at all. It wouldn't make sense given the way you have the Renaissance zones and other things done because of the triggering of the timing. It just doesn't make sense here.
But basically, the study you give us is options of what to do in the future, and it's actually the commission will have to, with department heads, figure out what to go. And if we do a different design or different our CIP plan, it's more like the Commissioner
But I would,
Peckern
find a
talked
district,
about.
I would find a district TIF here really hard to do given the way everything is structured.
So it's more of an accept the recommendations and the plan.
And ultimately, a lot of it's up to you guys. I mean, there's conversations about street trees, and one of the questions is how big and how to put them in, and all those other things.
So, Mr. Chairman, what goes back to what I said, they have lots of good ideas. It doesn't mean they're not all mandatory usage that we adopt everything, and there's lots of good, and things will change as time goes by. But wouldn't you say that's kind of what it is? These are concepts you would recommend for us.
So one of the titles is actually Downtown in Focus, and I think it brings into focus the downtown, how to improve it. One of the things we've been told by Kevin as well is that if you don't take the opportunity now, if you wait too long, you may lose your opportunity to have things improve. So it's critical in the retail space we have downtown that continues to have growth and a healthiness to it. But just like anything else, if we don't pay attention to it, we could lose that, and downtown could go back to demise. So it's kind of an opportunity kickstart. Here's some suggestions the public's put into it, and it puts it in focus. So what we do is up to now the commission and the planning department, engineering.
Exactly. And they're guides and suggestions, and in some cases intentionally provocative might be the wrong word, but they're to get the attention, to get people to think about some things in a different way, and what actually ends up happening may not look like that, but you may follow some path of the idea. And I'd just like to say on behalf of the consulting team, and clearly I'm the toughest one because I'm actually the one here, but and everybody else got snowed in, but
You're not from Philadelphia, so.
No, I'm from New England and from Ohio, where it does snow. So, but this has been a great project to work on. You all have been great. Nicole and the staff, the city staff, has been absolutely great. We get projects where we have some communities that you really just kind of want to get done and move on, and we have other communities where you are kind of sad to see a project end, and this is one of them. We think this is a great place, and you have a great amount of stuff going on and a tremendous amount of potential, and we were really glad and happy to be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gregg?
So some folks might call it semantics, but in my world, words matter. So when we say consider request to approve the InFocus blueprint, that's something that I wouldn't do. I would support a receive and file of this so that we can use it as a guideline.
And if I may clarify how we hope to use the plan, I don't know if the timing is right for that, but really, I think the most critical part, and this is where it's a little bit of semantics, but where the approval is important is with the vision. And how we get through the vision and accomplish that. We know there's many more steps and visits back to the City Commission as part of that. If really this sends a message to the public, the people in the audience, many of the steering committee members are in the audience, but our agencies and the departments on that we want to work towards implementing this vision. And that might be testing these ideas that are in the book. It might be finding, as we dive into those details, that they don't work for us. And so, but the idea is that it helps set the work plan for us to communicate about these big ideas. And so I'd like to, in the words of engineering, Jeremy Gordon, what I'd like to say is, especially when you look at the playbook, this is maybe at a 5 mile, 1 mile high level. And then as we get into the actual implementation, if you think about construction standards, we're down to the 6-inch level of a curb, and so there's going to be lots of gradients along the way. And so I think the main thing, not to hit on the financing, and others can certainly speak up, but I think the main thing to understand is recognizing that to implement the full vision will possibly require financing or some money, and how we go about doing that. For instance, if we do it how we do today, that might be just fine. It might be that we no longer do incentives and we go through the whole typical special assessment process. We know specials are up for discussion. We know future tax incentives are up for discussion. We know there's a whole tax reform out for discussion right now. So there's many different things in play. So we don't know how we're going to pay for this quite yet, but by adopting this vision, it helps us go guide that future discussion and sit with our leaders and you all and the community at large to figure out how to do this.
Well, I think the debate is receive and file sounds like it's not going to be a living document. It sounds like this is a living document. If I go to the 10 or 7 things you put there, grow as a neighborhood, prosper as a business center, thrive as a destination, be it a model for inclusive growth and development, complete our streets, park smart, play with purpose, you're kind of giving a blueprint of where we should head, but we define it after that. So it wouldn't be necessarily that you're demanded that we do it a certain way. It's just here's a blueprint and work with it. It's a focal point we can utilize. But to me, if it's receive and file, it could go back to the shelf if we don't use it. This is a working, living document that we have to continue to work with. Is that not true? Commissioner Gary?
Go 2030 was received and filed.
We sure have heard a lot about it, though, and everything that came
That's my
afterwards.
point. That's my point.
Well, I'll move the recommended motion then, and I'm satisfied with the plan. And so suggested motion is to move to approve Downtown in Focus, a blueprint for Fargo's core.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Grinberg?
Aye.
Pepcorn?
Aye.
Garrick?
No.
Mahoney?
Aye. Any other business? I think, Commissioner Grinberg, you have some guests in the audience. You want to
Well,
introduce them?
did you
just
bring
because
that up?
They see how you work at such a short meeting and hardly have to sit here?
I'd like to introduce my firstborn. I've always said I'd never put her on the spot or embarrass her, but I'm taking that exception tonight. So my daughter Ashlyn is here. She is in her last semester now at UND, majoring in occupational therapy. And my mother Jane is sitting right next to her, right in front of Charlie Johnson.
That's how you want to embarrass her, right?
It's father's privilege.
Is there any other action by the commission? The motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.